let's get into some predictions for the upcoming year. I tasked you before joining the show today to give me 3. We'll go back and forth one at a time. Give me your first big prediction for the Oilers in 2023.
Well, Happy New Year to you, Tyler, as well, and everyone tuning in today. Okay, I'm being pretty optimistic. I think in 2023, every New Year's you got to try to find the good that can come out of this. So I'm going to say in 2023, Connor McDavid scores 63 goals. That's going to be 33 more this year. So he's going to surpass Austin Matthews from last year. He's going to get up to 65, and then in the first half of next year, he won't quite meet this year's pace, but he's still going to score 30. So McDavid's got 33 goals in 2023.
To end the season, 33 goals. I like that. 65, he'd probably lock up the Hart Trophy. And you know what?
Yeah.
That lines up with my first prediction for 2023. Connor McDavid more or less sweeps the NHL awards. I'm going to say he gets the Hart Trophy. He gets the Art Ross, the 65 goals propel him to the Rocket, and he scoops up the Lindsay as well. Connor McDavid will get this great photo of him at the awards with all 4 of them right in front. And I think Connor McDavid obviously going to keep going off. Another thing that Gregor brought up on the DFO rundown today was the idea of Connor McDavid winning the Triple Crown, leading the NHL in goals, assists, and points. There's actually, in like the modern era of the NHL, so I think it's since like the 50s or 60s, only 5 players have ever done that. That's crazy. And Connor McDavid is on pace to do that this year. The only guy who seems like a bit of a threat to pass him is Kucherov, and they're tied in assists right now. So if McDavid can outpace Kucherov in the assist mark, he'd also win the Triple Crown. So my first big prediction, in line with you, McDavid sweeping the awards, and he's winning the Triple Crown.
That's video game stuff right there, hey? Like, that's what you and I do and create a player in NHL mode. Like, yeah, do it every year, no big deal. In real life, it's absolutely insane.
Electronic Jordan says Conn Smythe and Stanley Cup on the next table, and Tyler was in all caps and said, and the Conn Smythe. That was, I'm going to get into more detail with that when I write the article side of this, but I also have the Oilers going to the Cup final this year. That was my prediction. And I'll say, as long as they get there, they don't even have to win the damn thing. As long as they get there, Connor McDavid's probably getting the Conn Smythe as well. I even argued that this last year, he probably should have been on more ballots than he was, considering he had 2 points a game in the postseason. So yeah, maybe people, maybe we're getting a little too far ahead of ourselves, but there might be a little bit of extra hardware. But McDavid wins at least 4 awards is my first big prediction. Second one, Connor, what do you got?
Well, continue the positivity, and that's going to be kind of a thing throughout my predictions, hoping for things to improve upon themselves. And I'm saying Jack Campbell finds his game back. Obviously this year's been brutal. There's no way to really sugarcoat it. It hasn't been good for it, and he's come out and admitted it. He's been very hard on himself as well. But I think at some point this year, he's going to get back to that level of play that we saw last year in Toronto, where, for a short period, people said maybe Vezina. I think he's going to find his game and get back to that at some point. Now, hopefully that'll come during the playoffs. If anything should happen to Stuart Skinner, fatigue sets in, whatever it might be, first year as kind of being the guy. But I think at some point this year, in 2023, we're going to see Jack Campbell go on a run. I don't know how many games it'll be, but he'll look like the guy that got that 5x5 contract.
His numbers are slowly trending in the right way, and it is slow. But I like what you brought up with Toronto, because you're right. At this point last year, what was the talk around Campbell? It's like, the Leafs have a Vezina Trophy caliber goaltender. What's going to stop him? And to be fair, he was good in the playoffs as well. Like that last Game 7 that they lost against Tampa, he was really solid. But he got hurt and he fell apart in the second half of the season. He was nowhere near the Vezina Trophy conversation. These things can happen. These things can turn around. And it usually doesn't come with much of a warning, especially with goaltending. Like, I don't know. He settled into the backup role. I think he'll probably play like 16, 17 games down the stretch. But if you had give me your save percentage prediction, if Campbell's in net for 15 to 20 games from now to the end of the year, what's his save percentage?
So what's he sitting at right now? We have him around
870 something.
Oh man. I mean, if he could just get into the 9s, if he gets into the 9s, I feel like that, would quiet people, quiet the naysayers, maybe mentally for him, just seeing it jump up to that, like, okay, this is where I can hover around. This is where I need to be. But yeah, if he gets into the 9s, I think that, based off what we've seen so far, you're probably pretty happy with it. Even the game, the last time we saw him out there, only allows 2 goals. Maybe a bit of a softie on that second one. You'd like to make that save. But yeah, like you said, slowly getting the improvements. I think at some point it's just going to click in for him.
Rusty, the reckless optimist, with a take that only he could craft, and I love it. Campbell's playing 4D chess, pretend to be terrible for load management, and then go lights out in the playoffs. And yeah, maybe
Yeah.
he's just on a completely different level. But he's 876 through 16 games. So if you were to say he plays 16 more from now to the end of the season, Yaremchuk math, he'd have to be 924 down the stretch for the Oilers. Tyler Mulick, are we 100% out of Jennings contention? Yeah. I don't think the Oilers duo is going to be winning the Jennings this year, unfortunately. My second take, though, and this one, or my second prediction, and this involves a goalie. Connor, I had this take last week, so listeners, it won't be too new to you, but I'm going to say 4 Oilers do go to the All-Star game this year. It's Hyman, it's not Hyman. It's Nuge, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Stuart Skinner. 4 Oilers going to the All-Star game. Again, you look at the breakdown of goalies in this division and who could potentially deserve to go. It's Logan Thompson. It's Stuart Skinner. It's maybe Jacob Markstrom. He'd be the only other one who has the slightest bit of a case. But every other goalie in this division's been junk, so I think Skinner's got a spot.
Just by default, we're throwing him in there. Hey, I think so too. I mean, yeah, the names you list off there, no one's really jumping out ahead of him. Stuart Skinner's been great this year. Kept the Oilers in a lot of games, and I like that prediction. I like that one. I'd love to see it. The NHL All-Star Game is kind of a joke, but, if 4 Oilers got in, I think that's a win.
I think it'd be fun. The other prediction someone had, they were asking if maybe Stuart Skinner finds his way into the Rookie of the Year conversation. I think the way it'll probably go, Matty Beniers is great. He's got 25 points in 35 games. He'll be in the mix for sure. But I actually think the other 2 nominees are in all likelihood going to be goalies. When you look at it, Logan Thompson's been great for Vegas, although his numbers, his save percentage at least, is slightly worse than Skinner's. Skinner's got a 917 and a 278. Logan Thompson's got a 915 and a 264. But then there's also Pyotr Kochetkov. And he's 10-1-4 for the Carolina Hurricanes, 928 save percentage, 1.94 goals against average. I honestly think it's going to be Matty Beniers and 2 goalies, and that'll be your Calder ballot this year.
I like it. Could you imagine? I mean, for Oilers fans, obviously, we want to see someone eventually get that Calder. McDavid doesn't get it. Draisaitl, Nuge, all these guys that they've had. Those number 1 overall picks that you had hoped would be in contention haven't been able to get it done. McDavid with injury, obviously, if they put that kind of out there. But yeah, that would be really cool to see Stuart Skinner just be in that conversation, just get a little recognition for what he's been able to do this year. Because coming in, what did we think would be, 55-30 kind of. Yeah. That would be the games played almost. I know that doesn't check out to 82. My math's not great on the fly here. But yeah, I mean, I think that, he's kind of got the opportunity and ran with it. He's been terrific.
Give me your third prediction. What do you got?
Oh, third prediction. Continuing with the optimism. I'm just very vaguely saying Evan Bouchard figures it out. And I know that going into the past couple of years, there's people that have thought he'd be ready to take that step. And, you're able to move Tyson Barrie and, I don't think it's gone as planned. The development's never going to be in a perfect straight line. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but I think it's important to remember he's only played, 140 regular season games. You factor in the playoffs, 156. I think there's still lots of room for improvement. And I don't know about you, Tyler, going back to our, with the radio careers, every time I screwed up, that was a great way to learn from my lesson and never let it happen again. So I'm just going to be the eternal optimist here and just say, you know what? Evan Bouchard starts to figure things out in the 2023 calendar year and maybe gets back that confidence and lives up to his draft billing.
In the last calendar year, Evan Bouchard played 88 regular season games for the Oilers, and he had 29 even strength points. Tyson Barrie only had 20. So, I don't know. I don't think – I like that take. I do think that Bouchard he's learning some tough lessons right now. But I talked about in the last game against Winnipeg, at 5-on-5, the Jets didn't get a shot when he was on the ice. And I know that the entire game was kind of played in one end of the ice, so maybe that's not like a super huge compliment of Bouchard's play, but I think he's starting to go in the right direction here. And yeah, people forget, this guy's not even at 200 games in the NHL. It takes defensemen a long time to figure it out. And I always get a laugh because we hear that a lot. It's always like, oh man, hey, you got to give D-men 300 games before you judge them. But then in the moment, fan bases are always so quick to just cannibalize and eat their own when it comes to these young D-men. It's like, no, you got to give him time. He's playing on your third pairing right now. That's fine. That's a good spot for him. He's going to mess up. That's fine. He's not supposed to play like a 500-game veteran right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's it, right? And I think you said it with Lotite and Jamo on Friday, right? Like developments, it's not a straight line. There's going to be ups,
Yep.
there's going to be downs. He'll have great games where we hype him up, and then bad games where he gets torn apart. But you got to remember, take a step back, look at this as the full 82 game season, or just how he's been in his whole career. I think there are enough positives to think he's going to pan out, but there's going to be hiccups along the way.
My third prediction for this calendar year is that the Oilers' first-round pick in 2023 is traded by the deadline. Again, this maybe isn't the spiciest take, but I think you look back to the summer and the way Ken Holland kind of played things with moving out the picks down the line to get Zach Kassian off the books, not just saying, all right, I'll move some picks in 2023, talking 24, 25. He knows they need to be in win now mode. They can't waste any more time. They can't risk being one piece away this year with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Ken Holland will go out and move that first-round pick in 2023. The way I'll spin this with you, Connor, is when you look at the market, who's kind of out there and all of that, if you were in charge, you're moving the first-round pick no matter what, who do you want? Who's your number one deadline target for the Oilers?
Jeez, I mean, the name it's popped up, and I like Jacob Chychrun. I love the opportunity to get him. I know it's a popular name amongst Oilers fans, and there's a lot of people that kind of are quick to dismiss him, but the potential that he has, and I know injury concerns have been something that have been brought up, but players get hurt all the time, and sometimes he's gone through it, and maybe it's something he's overcome, but that would be the one for me. That's the guy for me. And I know you're gonna have to put together a package and obviously move on a couple other pieces, but to get him on a good contract and for another couple of years, I mean, the Oilers are in their window. That would be a move that I would really like to see. I've seen some of the other reports out there that just, for me personally, don't really move the needle. I think Jacob Chychrun would be a great guy if you can acquire him.
Yeah, I just worry if it's got to involve Dylan Holloway, I stay away. And
Yeah.
that was the point I made last week. If you need guys still. Win now mode is one thing, but you're going to need cheap players to come into your lineup in the next few years to help you out. The cap going up will help as well, but you need the Holloways, the Brobergs, and the Borgos to step into your lineup and kind of immediately make an impact for you while they're on their ELCs and save you that money. So I do like Chychrun. I worry about the cost. The first round pick, if it's being moved, I still like Jonathan Toews. I think that's a guy who you can get for just the first round pick. Who knows? Maybe even takes less. Maybe it's the second and Puljujarvi ends up getting you a guy like Jonathan Toews because Kane's going to be the one there that gets the biggest return. But I would love to see the Oilers go get a just great veteran third line center like that who could help you out in your own end, help your team out defensively as well, and go get more of a B or C piece to help out on the left side of the blue line. But we'll see. It's going to be an exciting few months here leading up to the deadline for the Oilers. And in some ways, their play will also dictate how in deep Ken Holland goes with the moves he makes ahead of the deadline. If they're winning a lot, then yeah, probably more inclined to go all in. And if they're winning a lot, Connor, you're going to be having some fun on Oilers Nation After Dark, which again starts tomorrow. Thanks for joining me here today. And I'm very excited to see you tomorrow on the show as well.